Um, yeah, I was thinking because I read the questions just a while ago about personal reflections. And I've shared a bit about how my own understanding of reconciliation has shifted over time and deepened, and how I think that it needs to include the like a structural shift, right? Why did we end up um, with contaminated water reserves? Because of decisions that were made by government and industry about where to put things like pipelines and how much logging to do in the general vicinity and how much mining to do in the general vicinity. And so until we address those things, I think that any work we do on the restoration of relationships will end up needing to be done again in the future. So it has to go; those two things have to go hand in hand. That's one thing that I think is incredibly important. But I'm going to share a story about my early process of the witness blanket, where I was going around and sharing this idea that I wanted to gather objects from residential schools. And I was talking about the way that those schools impacted my father and other residential school survivors. And an elder in Vancouver pulled me aside and said, "You don't talk about how it affected you." And I said, "Because I feel like I feel really fortunate. I didn't go to residential school. I was homeschooled actually, and I had the love of both parents. Um, I had a couple of things to deal with my dad and his what he didn't have as far as a father figure, and learning to navigate that. But here I am in my 30s, and I'm a well-adjusted person. And and he said to me, "Do you speak your language?" And the answer is no, and it's still no to this day. And it's something that that I really want to address when I stand in ceremony and I hear our elders and our knowledge keepers speak the language. And then I get the translation of those words. And then I hear how, say, my traditional name means big on the land, or my sister's traditional name means mountain woman. And then you learn that big on the land means that you have reach across of influence and reach. Um, and you learn that mountain woman means somebody who can see sort of across time because mountains have been there for so long. Then you realize how deeply our identity is connected to that language. Um, and and how the language connects us to the land. And so I'm really grateful for that elder who pointed out to me that despite all of the positives um, that I would take from my life, and despite all the work that my dad did and my mom did to try to protect me and my sisters from the impacts of residential school and of colonialism, um, it's still there, especially when it comes to something simple like those the ability to understand those words.